Alright. Alright, okay, we should be live. Let's hope and pray this works first time. Because, as those of you who saw my last few lives will know, as soon as I try to start StreamYard up, it just breaks the old bloody computer. So, yeah, I hope I don't have to turn it off and restart it this time. I'll give it a minute before I, start talking about everything I wanna get into, just to make sure that it's definitely running. Because what tends to happen is I start StreamYard, I start streaming, I enter the lobby, the studio, whatever you call it. I start talking, and then the whole machine just bloody breaks. It's not even just like that the internet starts lagging. It's like the whole computer starts lagging. It's like StreamYard just does something to the computer, and makes it start spazzing out. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's a pain in the arse. So yeah, let me just test this a little bit and see if it's working while I have a cup of tea. 'Cause can't be arsed turning it down again, and you know the deal. Alright, is anybody here? Yeah, how's it going, Thomas? Oh yeah, and Thomas or whoever else is watching, can you let me know if the audio is coming through all right, if it's working, and of course that I'm not lagging like I tend to at the start of these streams. But yeah, how's it going, Thomas? Good to see you here, man. God bless you. Um, Hello, Nordic. Yeah, how's it going, man? Opetaia cherry picked an undefeated middleweight. That was disgusting. LBC. I don't care that nobody wants to fight him. He should just move to heavy if nobody wants to fight him. Well, I don't believe nobody wants to fight him. I think there's plenty of ranked contenders at Cruiserweight who would love a shot at the IBF title and a payday. So, when people say nobody wants to fight them, I don't buy that. I mean, what they should be saying, if they're being honest, and this doesn't just apply to Jai Opetaia, it applies to any fighter who says nobody wants to fight me. What they should say is the big draws in the division, the big money earners, the cash cows, the guys with big fan bases, they don't want to risk fighting them because of their risk to ratio, whatever you want to call it. But saying that no one wants to fight him is disingenuous because, again, there's always going to be ranked contenders out there who are hungry for a payday and a title shot who would be willing to take the fight. I just think that what they did with Jai Opetaia there, like I said in that last video I just uploaded, was cynical matchmaking. I think they went down the rankings and they found a guy who had a good looking record on paper. So basically, a guy with an undefeated record, but a guy who was significantly smaller and nowhere near as good. So that it would look good on the resume. It looked good on the record having an undefeated guy on there. So, in my opinion, that was what was going on there. Cynical matchmaking. And I don't buy the excuse of nobody wants to fight him because, again, it's none of the biggest money guys out there, guys that would get him his career high payday. None of them guys want to risk fighting him. But it's not that nobody wants to fight him. Oh, that sounds good. All right, awesome. Glad to hear it. Appreciate it. Yeah, how's it going, Lee? Good to see you, man. Yeah, not bad. Things are all right. Things are all right. I'm just bloody worn out at the moment. Um, yeah, I was working late last night and the night before. How it was going is basically over the weekends I'd been doing like 4 shifts back to back. Working during the day, then working at night, and barely having any time to sleep. And yeah, it's kind of worn me out a bit. But today I've had a real chilled day. I slept in, got up, had a fry up, played my Xbox for a bit. I'm actually quite chilled now, but I'm just this is a recovery day for me. Really chill. I've also been sparring a lot lately too. I'm a little bit marked up again, as you'll see. But yeah, a lot of it is just it's fatigue. So I'm kind of tired. I'm taking the day to chill out and rest. But yeah, how are things with you anyway? How you doing? Are you still kickboxing? Let us know, man. I got some women you might like coming through the English channel. Yeah, yeah, of course. Hi Nordic. Have you heard the Dongbai Donegai Abena, former kickboxing champ who signed for Frank Warren. No, no, I don't know who that is. Lee Talks Boxing will probably know who it is because he follows kickboxing a lot more closely than I do. So he'll probably be able to fill you in on that one. But no, no, I've not heard of that guy. So has he transitioned over to boxing and he signed with Frank Warren? Because that's quite interesting if that's the case. Pound for pound boxing, how's it going, man? Hey Nordic, God bless. Enjoy your streams. Yeah, same to you, man. Same to you, man. God bless you. Appreciate it. Hey guys, I totally agree with you what you said in your last channel update. Yeah, how's it going, Powell? It's been a while, man. In terms of how Jai and his team have no problems considering these fights, like the last one, aren't they ashamed of that? Yeah, like I'm saying, I think Opetaia is just making the excuse. He's claiming nobody wants to fight him, but what he really means by that is none of the guys who are like the biggest draws in the division want to risk fighting him yet because he isn't that big a name. But there's plenty of guys out there who are of a much higher quality than that guy he last fought, who would be willing to take the fight. Because again, everybody who's a kind of a ranked contender, but who's not particularly well known, is going to appreciate a title shot, and getting a title shot is going to get you probably a career high payday at that stage of your career. So I'm assuming there's numerous guys out there who would agree to fight him. But yeah, he's just not really that interested in challenging himself, I would say. What's your opinion on Hrgovic versus Adelaide? It's a fight I didn't expect was going to happen. You got to favour Hrgovic in that fight. I mean, it really depends though, because Hrgovic is not a particularly reliable fighter, is he? He's a guy who's basically in it for the money. Boxing is a part-time thing for him. It's just a job, a side hustle. It doesn't really stay in shape between fights. He's definitely the more talented of the two. Probably the bigger puncher. Probably got the better chin. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like you just can't really trust a guy like Hrgovic to show up in shape and to give it his all, can you? But if it's Hrgovic at his best, even if he's on the form he was for the Joyce fight, then I make him a slight favourite. But yeah, you just don't know, man. You just don't know. Yeah, still kickboxing. Was thinking of taking up Muay Thai or karate to add things to my game. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Like Muay Thai is good for learning like elbows and knees and all that sort of stuff. Back fists, and that's something that's really really good to add to kickboxing. Because there's just a few more wrinkles to it, isn't it? It's a little bit more brutal. And yeah, karate is good for learning, obviously, like basic strikes, punches, and kicks, and things of that nature. Like basic throws, the kind of things they don't really teach you in kickboxing. But yeah, I would advise learning as much as you can. Just whatever you can learn about martial arts. It's not gonna do you any harm, is it, to learn it? You know, Adelaide is a steroided up bum bodybuilder. Yeah, he looks it, doesn't he? Yeah, he certainly looks that. And I felt sad for the Italian fellow. It's like a predator teeing off on a helpless prey. Disgusting to watch. It was a cherry pick. That's all it was, man. It was a guy who's fighting someone leagues below him just because they had an undefeated record, just so that in the future he can say, "See, look, I beat an undefeated guy." But it doesn't tell like the whole story, does it? Because the guy was, like, say, he was like half his size. He was severely undermatched, inexperienced, not particularly athletic. It was not a good matchup at all. And look, you can forgive a soft defense here and there, but with Jai Opetaia, it seems like all he has is soft defenses. So Jai Opetaia, to me, has shown a serious lack of interest. He's shown to be quite cynical in the way he's conducting his career, and I don't appreciate it. I really don't. Abena is a pretty good fighter, but I don't see him doing much in boxing, especially at heavyweight. Always a better kicker than a puncher. Yeah. Well, if he's a guy who's primarily a kicker, and then you take that away from him and essentially handicap him and put him into a sport which is all about punching, that doesn't bode well for him, does it? Like it really doesn't. So, I mean, that would be like taking, I don't know, someone like David Tua and putting him in kickboxing. That's what that would be like. It wouldn't go well, would it? You know. Italma versus White happening too. Yeah, heard about that. I think White is shot to pieces at this point, and Italma is probably gonna smash him. If truth be told, like because Italma's just prospect on his way up, looking great so far. White is just a name on the record. A guy who's faded, who was world ranked at one point, but it's been a long, long time since Dillian White looked even remotely decent in a fight. Probably not since the Povetkin rematch, which was a few years ago now. And yeah, that's probably just a sacrificial lamb kind of thing. So Italma probably knocks him out. Yeah, well, do you know, I definitely would give Zerdo a very good chance. Like, I wouldn't necessarily favor Zerdo in that fight, but I definitely give him a good chance. I've always rated Zerdo, as you guys know. I think he's probably the best like Mexican fighter in recent years, and he's a guy who obviously slick southpaw. Great stamina, great lateral movement. He's a guy who can actually fight on the inside despite his long arms, and he can also he's also decent at long range. Got a great jab. He's great at getting under punches and countering. I think he's got a very, very good chance at outboxing Opetaia, but I don't see him stopping Opetaia. I think Opetaia is far too tough. I also think Opetaia is a little bit more physically, naturally talented. He's just so much stronger, so much more explosive. He's also a southpaw. I don't think Zerdo has fought many southpaws in his career, and I think Opetaia just seems to me a little bit more physically imposing. So I definitely would give him the edge based on that because I don't think Zerdo could hurt him. Like I definitely think Zerdo could outbox him, but I don't think he could hurt him. Or at least if anybody gets hurt in the fight, I think it's Zerdo. So I think I would favor Opetaia in that fight, but it's a very, very good fight, and it'll probably be if it does happen, like if it gets signed this year, it'll be my most anticipated fight of the year, no doubt about it. Definitely be interested to see it. Do you still watch movies as much anymore, and do you go to the cinema? I've not been to the cinema in a good few months. Try to remember what the last film I went to see was. Can't even remember. No, it's been a while. It's been a while since I last went to the cinema. I've not actually had the time lately. Um, but yeah, I'll need to see what's on, see if there's any old movies they're showing. Because when I do go to the cinema nowadays, it tends to be when they re-release an old film. So yeah, I'll see what they're showing soon. Certainly. Well, namaste, mate. Yeah, how's it going, man? How's it going? Did you watch the Minecraft? No, but it looked terrible. I seen a whole bunch of memes off it, like the chicken jockey and all that stuff. Like, I never played Minecraft, so it's not something that I was ever into. My brother used to play Minecraft. I never played it though, so I um I wouldn't bother with that. It doesn't really interest me at all. You getting the Switch? No, absolutely no way. Nintendo can suck my cock. Yeah, I've had a real I've developed a real dislike for Nintendo recently. Just don't like them one bit, and I particularly don't like their hardcore fan base. They've been really irritating me lately. So yeah, I won't be supporting them. And they've been suing everybody and just acting like bullies, man. So yeah, I can't. I'm really, really against Nintendo at the moment. I won't be buying any of their new consoles. Like being fed to the slaughter and will be memed. Itama gets no credit for this. Yeah. Again, it's another example of cynical matchmaking. It's like when David Price fought Audley Harrison. It's that kind of thing. It's just the British boxing. One guy's a name, used to be pretty good, but is shot now. And then you got the up and comer who's about to take him out and get a name on the resume. Can see why they do it, but it's not something that I find particularly interesting. You know, Did you watch that Bung Cambosos fight last night? No, I didn't watch it, but it went exactly how I thought it would. Never rated Cambosos. He's useless. Useless fighter. Never rated him. Oh yeah, Mike McCallum passed, didn't he? Yeah, God bless him. Yeah, Mike McCallum was a great fighter, man. I think he's easily the best Jamaican fighter of all time. Yeah, I definitely think he is. Great fighter. Can't wait for Cambosos to fight some bum in Australia, then get cherry picked for another title shot. George the recycled Cambosos. It's funny, like Cambosos had the fortune of being the only guy to ever have a real fight with Teofimo Lopez. And as a result of that, people actually think he's good. They actually think he's a world class fighter, despite the fact he gets his arse kicked every time he fights anywhere near world level. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that he's not that good. He got beaten up by bloody Lee Selby at times, so he's obviously not that good. I actually thought there was a good chance that Daud Yordan might beat him, but that fight got cancelled. I think he was like a 10-1 underdog, and I was thinking of placing a bet there, but that fight got cancelled. Missed opportunity, perhaps, potentially was. Yeah, Cambosos. Yeah, Cambosos can't really take it to the body. I guess Australian fighters don't like it to the body. I guess that's just how it is. Same thing happened against Loma, from what I remember. Yeah, he had one lucky night. Again, he had the fortune, like I said, of being the only guy to have a real fight with Teofimo Lopez. If I had a real fight with Teofimo Lopez, I'd have beaten him too, as would probably most of the guys in this chat, because that guy can't fight. He's just a fraud with a fake career, like Canelo. Prime Briadis, yeah, I think Prime Briadis, like the Briadis who fought Usyk and Hook and all that. That Briadis would be Opetaia, in my opinion. I mean, he nearly beat him in the first fight, broke his jaw and nearly stopped him. So definitely a few years earlier, I would have favoured Briadis, but he spent too long getting tattoos and calling out Jake Paul, didn't he? So yeah, that's what it is. If everyone's so scared of Opetaia, how come a tiny light heavyweight isn't scared of fighting him? That was his opponent last. Yeah, exactly. That Claudio Squall guy must be like the most like badass like you know big bold fighter out there. 1 second. 1 second. Sorry about that. That was my work pestering me. It was actually my fault. I accidentally took something home with me from a shift last night, and yeah, flipping. I forgot to message them this morning and let them know, and yeah, that was them phoning asking me for it. So I have to bring it in later. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, like I was saying, that guy must be like the bravest, like big bald cruiserweight contender out there, because he fought the guy who nobody else wants to fight. Everybody's just terrified of Opetaia. Nobody wants to deal with him. I used to love going to the cinema and still want to, but the schedule is trash. Lilo and Stitch is probably the best thing on ATM. Yeah. Well, oh yeah, that's a remake though, isn't it? Isn't that like a live action remake? See, I hate live action remakes. I refuse to support them. Like I like those like Disney movies like Lilo and Stitch, the cartoon ones, but I definitely won't be supporting the live action remakes. I just don't agree with them. They're so cynical. Talk about cynical cash grabs. That's what they are, you know. Is your brother based? Oh yeah, yeah, he's very based. Very based. He takes after me. Yeah, it's a shame we don't see each other very often because we live like 300 miles away. But when we do see each other, you know, we're cool. And yeah, he is kind of based, just like me, you know. Donaire won last night to look sharp, and yeah. I heard that Donaire was fighting. I was actually I was thinking of putting an accumulator on last night, but like all of the fights, the odds were just complete crap, so I didn't even bother. But yeah, Donaire was one of the things that scared me off of it because he's kind of unreliable. Like, remember he fought that Mexican guy? The guy was like leagues below him, and then he just showed up and did nothing and ended up losing. Situation like that, you know. But yeah, good to see Donaire can still box even in his 40s, you know. Nintendo stuff is garbage. I hope their stuff gets pirated. Yeah, yeah. Nintendo, and not only that, Nintendo fans seem to really be like insane autists. You know, basically, like if your favorite game isn't a Nintendo fan, that they'll call you a fake gamer. You say you're not a real gamer. They're kind of like, you know, when you say you're not a fan of Floyd Mayweather, and people will call you a casual. That's that's what um that's what Nintendo fans are kind of like. They're like the Flomos of the gaming community, you know. That's what it seems like to me anyway. Mario might stop your water supply for dissing Nintendo. Yeah, imagine that was Mario phoning me. Like, it's a me, a Mario. You say a Nintendo is not good. We were going to sue you. Yeah, that's what really happened. Imagine. Who do you prefer, Nordic, Mario or Sonic? Mario's my favorite. Sonic is, I don't know. Do you know? I think the Mario games are better. Like for the most part, they are better games, but I prefer Sonic as a character. I think Sonic's a much more interesting character. Sonic's like lineup is just more interesting anyway. Like again, like Edgy the Hedgy and all that, and Knuckles and all these other characters. Like they're just so many more. Like the anthropomorphic animals and you know the whole mascot vibe of Sonic. I find more interesting than Mario. Mario's kind of a bland design and bland world, but I do think the Mario games are better. Like as far as platforming is concerned and just the technicalities of them, the Mario games are better. But I like the design of the Sonic games, and for that, I do prefer them. And I prefer like the writing of the Sonic games too. Do you play the recent Boomer shooter titles like Dusk? If not, I really recommend the game. No, I've never played Dusk, but I have played several Boomer shooters like Duke Nukem 3D, for example. That's probably my favorite one. That's a great game. Really enjoy it. But yeah, I've never played Dusk. Might check it out though. Way better than the current AAA slot nowadays. Yeah, AAA games are all just AI generated trash. Every single one of them. You know, they all feel like Ubisoft games to me, and not the good Ubisoft games. I mean the garbage Ubisoft games, like the new ones, or the ones from the past 15 years or so. Beevil versus Roy at light heavyweight. Do you know? Might surprise a few people. I think Roy actually has the perfect style to beat Beevil because Beevil's very, very basic, very fundamentally sound, which is good. But Beevil isn't very, very good on the front foot applying pressure, which was something Roy wasn't good at dealing with. And Roy had those like freak explosive genetics where he can just hit you from any angle. You know, if you're kind of lulled into a false sense of security, he can just go bang like immediately, and like the opponent's nervous system can't really react to it in time, and they end up getting stopped. You know, look at like his fight with Murky Sosa, for example. I think something similar would happen in the sense that Beevil would think he's in control, he would box, and then all of a sudden Roy would just explode and land something big, and Beevil wouldn't be able to get out of trouble in time. So I would favour Roy in that fight, prime for prime, but I would favour Beterbiev over Roy. I think Beterbiev would do to Roy what Glenn Johnson did, except he would get the job done much quicker. I think he would win by knockout, you know. Different styles and attributes, you know. Tio needs to get knocked out cold, can't stand him. Well, he will if he has a real fight against someone who can punch, you know. just a shame they compromised these guys. Like Lomachenko would have knocked him out in probably 4 rounds if that was real. Josh Taylor would have done him in 2 if that fight was real. Just all his fights are fake, every single one of them. Sandor Martin probably would have done him in 3, in my opinion. Why are American fighters so bad these days? They're nowhere near as good as the 80s and 90s. I think it's just a cultural thing, you know. Like American culture is very, very soft now and very prissy, and guys aren't willing to put the work in like they were. Like the guys in the 80s and 90s were savages, you know, guys like from Marvin Hagler's era, and you know, guys like Duran and all that. These guys were just workhorses, you know. They worked so hard. They lived a life. They were chiseled. They were battle hardened. Nowadays, they're all like prissy, like rich kids and all that, and guys who get so much money so quickly, they don't really need to work for it. So I definitely think it's a cultural thing. It's just like easy times breed like weak men kind of thing. I think that's what goes on there, you know. Similar in the UK, but it's probably a little bit worse in America, I would say. Been playing Mario 64, recently had a blast. Yeah, oh yeah, Mario 64 was a good game. I do think it's a bit antiquated, but it is a good game. Like it was very influential, influential game for its time, you know. Gotta go, guys. Thanks for a good chat. Oh yeah, God bless you, pal. Good. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's always good to see you here, man. Um, I have an old laptop. Currently in the process of collecting PC parts. Oh so you're into more PC gaming, like, so you emulate them. Yeah, yeah, that's good because you can kind of it's good for like game preservation when you can do that, you know. Can you pirate the latest stuff? Sorry about Poland. The hats are bringing in people like me. I might visit you. Oh, you won't be visiting me. Tell you that. Favorite non-title fight ever? Mine is Gatti Ward 1. Yo, your Gatti Ward 1's a fantastic fight. It was just an absolute brawl. My favorite non-title fight. That's a difficult one actually. I know there's a lot of non-title fights I've really liked. I'd need to really think about it though. I'll tell you one non-title fight I thought was an absolute banger. If you ever saw Paul McCloskey versus Bradis Prescott, that was a great fight. That's one that just immediately came to mind there. I seem to remember that being a badass fight. That was a great one. Who would you like Nordic if the likes of Gatti and Ward fought someone like Hatton Maidana? Hatton and Maidana would probably be too much for them. You know, Maidana would just be too powerful. He hits far too hard. I give Ward in his prime a better chance than Gatti. Ward was a better fighter than Gatti. By the time he fought Gatti, he was shot. He was right at the end of his career. Gatti, I never rated. I think he was, you know, tough guy, warrior. You know, great to watch, very entertaining. Not a very good fighter, in my opinion. C-class fighter. I think Maidana or Hatton would knock him out, to be honest. And I think Ward in his prime would have knocked him out too. Ward was definitely a lot better, technically, much better body puncher, much bigger puncher in general. But I still think Maidana or Hatton would probably have outworked and outlasted him and probably won on points. Let's not forget, Ward was never a world champion. Well, he won the WBU title, but he never had one of the major titles, and there's a reason for that, you know. Allegedly, they're talking about Dave Allen Wilder fight. Do you know what? Funnily enough, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Dave Allen versus Wilder. They're both shot. They're both on their way out. But you know, Dave Allen's had a win that's gotten quite a bit of attention lately. So why not? Why not? Why not stick them in together? I see no issue with it. I'd have absolutely no issue with that fight. You know. Yeah, just have my passport ready so I can escape from Nintendo. For some reason, Holy versus Usyk. Always on the Usyk the bomb undercard. Oh, yeah, he's fighting Kevin Lorena, so I've heard anyway. That's actually a fairly interesting fight. Like, see if that's a real fight. Probably won't be, but if that's a real fight, and if the referee does his job and doesn't let Okoli clinch all night, Kevin Lorena has a good chance of pulling the upset there. But he won't do it because Kevin Lorena can be bought, and yeah, he won't go for the win. I don't think. I think, but again, if it's a real fight and if it's fairly officiated, Kevin Lerena, I give a very good chance of winning that fight, but it won't be because one, Kevin Lerena will probably take a dive like he did against Dubois. Secondly, Kevin Lerena just lacks ambition, in general. And thirdly, all the referee has to do is let Hokoli grab him all night and lean on him, and he can't really do much, can he? So yeah, those are the three like roadblocks to getting a Lorena victory in that one. How's it going, Reversely? Did you play the Doom, the Woe Cages? No, I've never played a modern Doom game. Never. I've no interest in them. Yeah, they are complete trash in my opinion. And again, it's just leftish crap, so not interested in it. I hope the ref isn't Howard Foster in the Usyk Dubois fight. It might be. I hope it's not a British ref in general. Hopefully, you get like a good like European ref, like maybe like a German ref or a Belgian ref or something. And I don't want it to be some like 55-year-old like English white cock, football fan referee. I don't want it to be one of the usual types, like a Marcus McDonnell or Howard Foster, one of the usual like corrupt idiots. Don't want it to be that. Thoughts on the Fabio fight or Fabio Wardley? Yeah, he was losing pretty much every second, wasn't he? Then he just caught him with a right hand, and not so sure it was real. Personally, I'm not so sure. Justice Hooney didn't take a dive. Fabio Wardley has had opponents take a dive, take a dive for him in the past. So it wouldn't at all surprise me if that's what happened there. But I could be wrong. Maybe he just got caught with a shot. I do think that Hooney was a little bit chinny anyway because he got hurt really badly against Lorena from shots that didn't look particularly clean. So it could be that I'm just being cynical there, but something about the way they panned the camera away from them and were showing the promoters and all that stuff. I don't know, man. Something about it tells me that could have been a fix. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I mean, stating the obvious there. Like, Roy's one of the most obvious steroid users ever. No doubt about it. And he was caught too. Yeah, Fabio did show hot because he was getting beaten up, but I'm just not sure it was a real fight. I'm just not sure. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I'm not going to say it was. I don't know. I'm not sure. Illegal, yes. It's nothing compared to what was happening 15 years ago. Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Quags. How you doing, man? Your favourite amateur boxer, Tony, is having neck problems. Could be justice for him training his opponent. You're on about Tony Jeffries, yeah. Yeah, not a big fan of Tony Jeffries. I don't ordinarily use the term weight bully, but Tony Jeffries is one of the guys I will because he drained his opponent. So that's something I don't appreciate. Yeah, bye, Powell. Good to see you, man. God bless you. Yeah, didn't realize Donaire was still around. But yeah, Donaire had a fight last night and he won. Apparently, I've not seen it, but apparently he won. Yeah, Donaire just one of these guys who seems like he'll never give it up. Kind of like Manny, Manny Pacquiao just never seems to want to ever give up boxing. He seems addicted to it. Americans left boxing for MMA and other sports. Yeah, that's true. Like because boxing, I don't think it's as popular as it once was in America, whereas MMA is booming. Like that's really, really growing in popularity lately. And even among like casuals and spectators and all that, they seem to be really, really into MMA. That seems to be their thing now. Yeah, Usyk versus Vitali. Like I can see Usyk outboxing Vitali, but Vitali's size, his awkward style, his power, his stamina for such a big man would just make it such a tough fight. Like I wouldn't be confident either way in who would win that fight. Because Vitali does those like crazy jazz hands and leans back and like measures the opponent and can set them up with hooks and all that. And his lead hand control was some of the best I've ever seen. great at splitting the guard, great at drawing a lead from the opponent. It's something that Usyk hasn't had to deal with particularly often in his career. Hasn't had to deal with that very often. But I still think he would have had a good chance of winning, you know. Won an interim title, WBA, after a 2-year layoff. Is that Donaire you're on about? Still hope Dubois, Usyk KOs Dubois. Well, he might have to. He might have to get the win in the UK. You never know, man. Hoping you get to play Red Dead Revolver. Yeah, I still keep meaning to play that. That was the original Red Dead game. Came out during the 6th generation. Definitely going to be playing that when I get a chance. I've actually been playing Batman Arkham Knight the past week, like when I get spare time, because I'm planning to review that one for its 10th anniversary. Like, can you believe that's been out 10 years? I couldn't believe it, man. Couldn't believe it. That's good innings for that weight, Michael. Yeah, for Donaire. I think Gatti was killed. I think most people do, but none of us really know unless we were there. I mean, people say it was his wife. I don't know, man. Like it seems, all that whole thing seems like a bit of a bread and circus act to me. Like, you're never gonna get any clear answers. All the theories you get about it are like, each as unlikely as the last. And I don't know, man. It's just that's a situation I'm not like too clued up on. I did watch a documentary about it, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know who killed him. I don't know if he did it to himself. Was it his wife? Was it someone else? I don't know, man. Ward can hurt Maidana. If Khan is bringing that body, then Ward is killing it. Yeah, true, but Khan is extremely fast, like blinding hand speed. Mickey Ward was kind of slow by comparison, and Mickey Ward's defense wasn't great. He wasn't a particularly great athlete, but he was a great body puncher. He was definitely a bigger puncher than Khan, but Maidana was a bigger puncher than him and a lot physically stronger. So I would favour Maidana to win that fight, probably a late stoppage. Favour Hatton to beat him on points. I'd favour Maidana by late stoppage. Super Mario Bros. 2 for the DS was great. You have one I recommend play. I think my missus might have that, if I remember rightly. She's definitely got some of the Super Mario Bros. On DS. She plays them from time to time. Gatti was the faster and way flashier of the two, but Ward was toughest and had better inside fighter. Both equal halves. Yeah, Gatti had practically no defense though. Practically no defense. Like, he couldn't avoid punches. He was very, very easy to outbox. Very limited, one dimensional. Just a pure effort fighter, in my opinion. A guy who needed to be like stronger and fitter than his opponents because he couldn't really match them technically. He was never that good, in my opinion. A very, very overrated fighter. Lorena will throw the fight just like he did with Dubois. He literally concussed Dubois and threw nothing in round 2. Yeah. He took a dive. He did. That's pretty obvious. Anyone who saw it could see what was going on there. He had Dubois ready to go. He was concussed. He injured his knee and everything, and he still didn't take him out. So yeah, it was kind of pathetic in my opinion. Yeah, how did Lorena lose to Dubois? He had him. Well, there you go. That's exactly how. Do you see Turkey's comments about no Tom and Jerry shit? I didn't see the comments, but I did see Precise made a video about it. But like, I had no idea what he was talking about. I was only like half paying attention to the video. I forget if I even watched the whole thing. I just kind of like had it on in the background, and it was like something about Tom and Jerry and Turkey, and yeah, it seemed like a bunch of like irrelevant nonsense to me. So I wasn't interested, That Turkey's a weirdo. He really is. He really is. Uh, I reckon one more punch from Lorena would have ruined Dubois' career, and he would not be in the position he's in now. Yeah, because like I said, he was clearly concussed. He got like caught in the temple and he lost his balance and he injured his knee. Now you got a guy in front of you. I don't care how good he is. He's concussed and he's got a knee injury. You're stopping him. if you're there to get the win. If you're a cruiserweight or a heavyweight, whatever, like, and you've got power, you're stopping a guy like that. But Lorena just stopped throwing punches and didn't even try. So yeah, that was kind of embarrassing to me. I reckon Haney and Shakur are shitting themselves, or they can fight for way less on their home soil. Mate, look, if Haney and Shakur do fight, that will be like an epic challenge to try to get through that fight without falling asleep. Like, most of the people in the crowd will be sitting scrolling through TikTok and whatnot, and going for a piss. That'll be the most boring, lame, like garbage, Amero bum tag fest like you've ever seen. Be a snooze fest. It would be. Lorena should be ashamed of himself. Could have got a title shot if he knocked out Dubois. Yeah, but there's probably more money in taking dives for like British hype jobs than there is in getting a title shot and losing. Yeah, he might get more money like right away, fighting for a title. But if you can keep getting brought back to fight your big roided up black guys in the UK, and then just laying down for them and getting a steady paycheck every time you do, you can make more money doing that. All right, like, for example, you look at a lot of journeymen in boxing, they make more money losing to prospects than they do trying to win, because promoters don't want a winner, they want a game loser. It's sometimes like that at borderline world level. Like Eric Molina, that guy got numerous title shots just taking dives against big names like Wilder and AJ. And I think he also fought Fabio Wardley and took a dive there. So yeah, you can make money as a loser in boxing. A bought and paid for loser, you know. Andy Cruz, he's pretty good. I don't know what happened in his fight last night. Did he win, Andy Cruz? Like, I know he was fighting on the undercard of that Hitchens fight, but I don't know if he won or not. Fought some Japanese guy or something. I didn't see the fight. I didn't see the result. Usyk looks in super shape. He stops the bum late again. Yeah, but does he though? Because he's gonna have to rely on the referee, isn't he? Not allowing Dubois to hit him in the ball sack and lean on him. So Usyk's a better fighter. His league's above Dubois, but there's only so many times you can tempt fate in boxing. So yeah, I guess there's real value in Dubois, isn't there, at the moment? Oh yeah, Arkham Asylum came out in 2009, I believe, and Arkham City came out in 2011. So they're both like well over a decade old. Arkham City is in my top 10 favorite games. It's number 6 after Spyro 2. I think that game is where the Arkham series peaked, because the ones that came after were nowhere near as good. There was a certain amount of franchise fatigue, I would say. So yeah, but the first two are legendary. I'll always enjoy those games, particularly the second one. It's a great game. And as I said, it's in my top 10. Yeah, how's it going, Larry? God bless you, man. Why did they allow this fight to happen in the UK? Is that a legal shot? It's still annoying Usyk. I can't understand why Usyk even entertained the idea of fighting Dubois again. I don't understand what he has to gain from it. Like, he's beaten Dubois already, right? Made him quit. He's already a multi-millionaire who's made like tens of millions throughout his career. He's already been undisputed lineal champion in 2 divisions. What does he have to gain from fighting Dubois again? If he beats Dubois again, whatever, he gets his IBF title back. Who cares? But he's beaten Dubois already. If he beats him again, he's not going to get even the slightest bit of credit. Nobody's going to give him any credit for beating Dubois. They're just going to say, well, he already beat him. So it's kind of a cherry pick. But if he loses to Dubois, that's a big, big black mark on his resume, on his legacy in general, losing to a guy like Dubois. So he's got nothing to gain, really, by the standard of what he's already got, and everything to lose. So I think it's an embarrassment, to be perfectly honest. I rate Vitelli very highly, but he was struggling with nimbleness and agility of Chris Bird. I think it was the same case with Usyk. Well, I don't think that was Vitelli at his best. Aside from the shoulder injury, he just wasn't as refined as he became, like when he came back, and when he later fought the likes of Kirk Johnson and Danny Williams and guys like that. That was a much better version of Vitali. But I see what you're saying. I definitely do think Usyk's speed, agility, southpaw stance, his timing, his hand speed, his accuracy, his lead hand control that he has as well, his high guard from long range, and his surprising, and we saw this in the Fury fight, his surprising and deceptive strength on the inside would make him a handful. But I still think it's like basically a 50-50 fight. Just because, Vitali has a lot of physical advantages, but Usyk's, I'd say, the better fighter technically. How's it going, Nordic? Yeah, how's it going, Jamie? Still got the crocodile gym jams. I have got them actually. I have still got them. I'm not wearing them right now, but I have got them. You know. I think Usyk taken the Dubois fight personally because of the idiots like Don Charles and his son mouthing off. Yeah, but why? If he wants to like hit them where it hurts, just don't fight them. Tell them you're not on my level. I already beat you. I already made you quit. You will never get my rematch, or you will never get that rematch. That's how I would handle it anyway. If I was in that position, if I fought a guy like Dubois and he tried to cheat and then I ended up beating him, making him quit, I would tell him straight, you're never getting a rematch. You blew it. You had your chance. You blew it. Get it up you. That's how it is. Am I crazy for thinking that Prime Joyce could actually give Usyk a tough fight? Pound for pound, Joyce might have had the best stamina in the game. Could see Usyk clearly winning on points, but being 1-2. I definitely think Joyce's size, his work rate, his stamina, his strength, his surprising deceptive power, and his chin would make the fight very, very interesting in the later rounds. Like Usyk would dominate the first half; he'd completely school him. But the longer the fight lasted, that ring would start to feel very small. Usyk would have to run and survive in the later rounds, and he probably wins on points, but has to survive a serious scare in the later rounds. Yeah, yeah, I agree there. Bullshit. The Dubois' team is shady. His knee was fine, if you ask me. I know. I think he did buckle his knee. I think he hurt. He got hurt with a shot to the temple. Then his knee buckled, and he tried to quit. Basically, that's what I think happened, in my opinion. Yeah, Usyk beat Joyce in the World Series of Boxing, but it was only a 5-round fight. I think in a longer fight, Usyk gives him, or Usyk has a lot of problems late, like over 12 rounds. I feel like Gatti was bipolar. He would box technically for a couple of rounds. Once you cracked him, turns into a fighter. That's because he just couldn't adjust. Yeah, he can. He's got fundamentals. He can box, but once you start giving him problems and you adjust to what he's doing, he couldn't make an adjustment to what you're doing. He's one of them kinds of guys. Could you enlighten me on all of Canelo's fights being a work? I believe some are. Well, look. All because a fight looks realistic doesn't mean it's not fake. You're gonna take real punches. You're gonna get a little bit in your feelings in the ring. You're gonna make sure that you sell it. You can't just have every fight be an obvious fix. Not every fight can be Wilder versus Malik Scott because people call it out and it could lead to lawsuits and things like that. You want to be able to swindle the betters. That's why a lot of dives often happen late in fights, because the bookies don't lose much money on round betting and the over under, and just however the odds line up. The gambling industry, of course, collaborates with boxing promoters and networks and whatnot, as well as advertisers. Right, the longer a fight lasts, the more adverts you see. The more like advertising print on the canvas and the shorts and the stuff like that people see. So it's all about maximizing earnings and making sure they keep the machine rolling while making sure they get the outcome they want. So like Kovalev fights Canelo, makes it look real for a few rounds, drags it out to round 11, then takes a dive. That's kind of how it works. But rest assured, all his fights are fake. Every single one of them is fake. You know, they're all works. Crawford is bigger than Canelo naturally. Yeah, I agree. He is bigger. It's just that Crawford drains himself to make welterweight, whereas Canelo doesn't. Canelo fights it pretty much is walking around weight. because he doesn't have to really fight. His fights are works, I don't think Crawford is going to wear those shots. I think Canelo's getting him 10-1. Um, no, I think Crawford absolutely schools Canelo in a real fight, but it won't be a real fight. It'll be a work either way. I don't know who they'll fix it for. I suspect Crawford, but if it is a real fight, I think Crawford would do to Canelo, um, what Miguel Cotto did in spots. Just outbox him, outmaneuver him, make him look like a plodder, and stand in the pocket when need be and get under his big wide shots and counter him. But actually, like, sit down in your shots and try to do him some harm and make sure you win. He could do that if he wanted to. Crawford, for all his faults, definitely could beat Canelo in a real fight. Who would be your top 5 heavyweights that could dominate in any era? Fury, Lennox, Vitali, Willard, and Usyk. Yeah, that would be my exact same top 5. My exact same top 5. Those are all the more talented guys out there. They're easily like some of the top 5 heavyweights of all time, or easily top 10, should I say. Eric Molina was a decent fighter, had ability, almost pulled off a few upsets, but stuck to the script. Well, yeah, he hurt Deontay Wilder very badly and then just stopped punching, stopped fighting, and let him off the hook. And then off the back of it, he got multiple title shots, didn't he? So it doesn't tell you, or it doesn't take a genius to see what happened there, Yeah, Parker and Caballero are much more deserving of a title shot right now than Dubois is at Usyk. Because, one, they haven't already fought and lost to Usyk. But at the same time, they are just better fighters in general in terms of like their overall resume and their fortitude that they've shown. They haven't quit multiple times like Dubois has. So they deserve the fight a lot more than they do, or than he does. Thoughts on Oblivion Remastered? I've heard your opinion on Remastered. This is one's drastically different, and you said ES4 had its limitations. Do you know, I don't care because, look, Oblivion is one of the most, like, iconic, meme-worthy games out there. And remastering it and changing it and making it more modern just takes away the overall charm. So I'm not interested. I'm not interested in a remaster. I'll play the original if and when I feel like it, but I'll never play the remaster. Not interested. Remakes and remasters, never been into them. Just not interested in them. Not interested one bit. Lomachenko retired. Great fighter, actually turned pro too late. In a way, underachieved. Yeah. Lomachenko, I do think, had a few fights left in him, but it seems like injuries and lack of motivation caught up with him, and he's clearly, his heart's not in boxing anymore, so he's decided to retire. It's up to him. Went out on a win. He beat the great George Kambosos, former undisputed legend. He beat him, so he's gone out for a win, or he's gone out on a win, should I say. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. I do think Lomachenko's career is a bit anticlimactic. I'd have liked to have seen him do more. It's a shame he never got that Tank Davis fight, because he would have absolutely embarrassed that bum. That would have been a complete mismatch. He'd have done the same to, Shakur Chicken shit. But yeah, it's a shame, man. But, if he wants to retire, it's up to him. Maybe he'll come back like Manny did, but who knows? We'll see. George Fox or Max Jenkins? Who's George Fox? Name rings a bell. I don't know who George Fox is. I'm assuming it's a fat guy. Is he like morbidly obese? I don't know. I watched Ali versus Patterson. It was boring. Do you know, I've never seen that fight. Never even seen it. Can you do more movie reviews? I really enjoy. Do you know, I actually recorded a couple of movie reviews in the back part of last year, but I haven't uploaded them. I've got them like saved on a drive somewhere. Maybe I'll upload them, and depending on whether or not people enjoy them, then maybe I'll go ahead and make more. But yeah, I do like doing movie reviews. It's just they don't really get views. Hardly anyone watches them. And not only that, but if you try to use footage on movie reviews, like, I'll get a copyright claim. It's interesting, like, big channels out there that review movies, they can use entire clips, entire scenes. They can use music, audio, everything, and they don't get any copyright claims. Whereas I use one screenshot from a movie, and my entire video gets manually copyright claimed. So yeah, I just if I'm gonna do movie reviews, I have to use like pictures from Google and stuff like that, and it's a bit of a pain, but I'll do it if people want to see it. If my audience wants to see movie reviews, I'll make them. Like I do have a couple that I recorded and didn't upload, so one in particular. So probably upload that at some point relatively soon. Yeah, he was a very small heavyweight, Floyd Patterson, but he had that Mike Tyson style, of bobbing and weaving and getting side on the big guys, which worked for him for his era. Yeah, Usyk won every round in that fight versus Joyce, but only 5 rounds. It'll be interesting. Over 12 rounds. Yeah, I think over 12 rounds, Joyce would have just soaked up a lot of punishment, and then he would start to like walk forward, gaining confidence, and he would probably put a beating on Usyk in the last couple of rounds. But I think Usyk's tough enough and intelligent enough to survive it and to get the win on points. Don't think he would stop Joyce, but I think Usyk would get the win on points. What's good, Nordic? Hey, how's it going, man? I've said before, Munguia really put on a show with Nello. He made that look as real as can be. Yeah, well Munguia's a bit of a dumb boxer, isn't he? A bit of a Homer Simpson punching bag type. So he doesn't mind standing there, taking a few big shots and going down like a sack of spuds and pretending like he's trying to win. He doesn't need to do he doesn't need to act too much to do it. I mean, it's not like Kovalev where you got one of the hardest punchers pound for pound in boxing. Got the best jab in the division, probably. Great long range boxer. Great lateral movement. Fights with that pendulum step. Switches it up from the head to the body really well. Draws a lead from you and knocks you out with hard, accurate, straight shots from long range that are deceptively quick. Very fast hands, very fast feet. And then you see him in there with Canelo and he's just touching him, just tapping the side of his head and the gloves and then going down like a sack of spuds from a very, very predictable right hand. Very, very poor actor. But Jaime Munguia, being a guy who's a bit of a scrub anyway, bit of a punching bag, he can sell it a lot better. God bless. Yeah, how's it going, Iron Fist? God bless to all. Nice to catch a live while taking a break from the freaking exam studying. The video on the Cruiserweight division was spot on. Yeah, thanks, man. You see, the Cruiserweight division, I always loved it, man. It was always badass. I really enjoyed it. But it just got so bad. It got so bad because all the best guys either retired or went into obscurity. And now we've got, again, no hopers and washed up super middleweights and light heavyweights fighting for titles. And it's just not a particularly interesting division anymore. And the Usyk days and the Denis Lebedev days and the Marco Huck days and even the bloody Enzo Macronelli days are over. It's just kind of a stale division full of no hopers now. Yeah, Riddick Bowe was very, very talented and very, very tough, but he wasn't the most intelligent fighter, and he also wasn't the most committed fighter. He was never in great shape. When he had a big fight, which was kind of a shame. If we assume Canelo versus Crawford is real, I think it'll be hard for Crawford moving up since he struggled against Madrimov. Yeah, Madrimov's a better fighter than Canelo. Canelo is an absolute bum. I don't think people realize what an absolute bum Canelo is. Like that, there are like journeymen who would beat Canelo. Not even kidding. And yeah, I don't. You guys know I don't rate Crawford that highly. I don't think Crawford's really that good, but he's good enough to be an absolute hype job like Canelo. At least Crawford has had actual fights. Not all his fights have been clear works. The Canelo that fought Golovkin would beat Crawford. I disagree. But he's now declined significantly. All his fights are fixed. The Golovkin fights were fixed too. In a real fight, Canelo doesn't last 3 rounds with Golovkin, in my opinion. On the front foot, he's not at his best. Canelo is base level as a counter. I've never seen Canelo throw a single counter punch in his entire career. Never seen him throw one. All I see him do is plod forward and throw the same combination over and over, you know. Yeah, remastering games is lazy because you don't have to make a new game. You just polish basically what's already there, and I can't be bothered with that. It's basically just like a mod. I'm not interested in it, you know. Dubois is clearly ducked the Parker fight. They were feeling the pressure as it got closer. I think so too, because Parker was looking great in training. He was looking very, very motivated, and I think Dubois just bottled it. I think Dubois is a coward. He's a proven coward with no heart. So I think he bottled it. I think he thought, you know what, this is too much for me. I'm not dealing with this, and he bottled it. That's honestly what I think happened. Because I think they probably took the fight thinking Parker will take it easy on him and kind of carry him like he did with Wilder, and we can get a gift decision. We don't need to worry about getting knocked out. But Parker, looked really, really destructive in training, did a lot of strength and conditioning, bulked up for the fight, and Dubois just shat it. He bottled it, and he was scared of getting knocked out, so he quit. Figured, look, I can get a bigger payday against Usyk, who isn't as big a puncher as Parker. So we might be able to rob him and get the win, and for more money. So it was kind of a risk reward ratio kind of thing. And they bottled it. And we saw against Bacoli, Parker was doing exactly what he looked like he was doing in training. He was working on power and strength, and he went in there and looked fantastic. Probably a career best performance. So that was potentially going to be a prime Joseph Parker that night. Dubois didn't want anything to do with it. Yeah, he wasn't particularly interested, was he? Sorry, I'm just getting a cup so I can get a drink. George Fox is Don Charles's dumb son. Yeah, I've never heard of him before. Well, saying that, the name rings a bell, but yeah, I'd never heard of him. Didn't know Don Charles had a son, but if he's related to Don Charles, then he's probably like a total prick, isn't he? So yeah, and I'm assuming, what is he, fat? Is he obese? I don't know, man. Loma would have made an embarrassment out of those Mongos, Tank and Shakur. Probably could have beat them both on the same night, because neither one of them can punch, Damn, Kambosos declined a lot. Well, not by world level standards. Kambosos declined a lot. He was never great, of course. He was B- fighter who overachieved. Getting beat up like this is just sad. To be honest, I don't think any version of Kambosos would have stood a chance against Hitchens. I don't think he would have. Hitchens leagues above him. In my opinion. George Fox. All right, yeah. No, did I read that, or was it someone else who said it? You're a Max Jenkins fan. Why would anybody be a Max Jenkins fan? Why would Max Jenkins have fans? I just don't get it. What is there to be a fan of, Hot take, as much as Joe Parker has accomplished in the past couple of years, I'm still not sold on him. I lost to AJ White, came back fighting the best competition against Del Boy. Yeah, but to be fair, he has had a very, very good resume. Very, very good resume. And he's fought a lot of top 10 heavyweights and beat most of them. So I think he's come into his prime now, early 30s, he's bulked up. He's more muscular and strong and fit than he was before. Hits a lot harder, more powerful than he was before. Probably got on a good stack. Probably got his diet under control. I think he stopped eating those Burger King Whoppers that he was repping before. I think Joseph Parker is better than he's ever been right now. Genuinely do. I think the Joyce loss was a wake up call for him, because he went on a right like Indian summer, whatever you want to call it, after that, didn't he? You still watch movies mostly on DVD. I'm not interested in streaming. Yeah, I watch DVDs. You know what movie I watched the other day? I watched that movie, Bone Tomahawk. That was a great movie. I enjoyed that one. Is the YTBC dead? A lot of guys stopped uploading Thunderdome blood boxing. Oh yeah, did is Thunderdome not streamed in a while? But did he not stream like a couple of weeks back or something? I know I missed it, but I'm sure I saw in my recommended that Thunderdome had streamed. I can't remember what it was about though. But yeah, blood boxing. I don't know what's happened to him. Litos Boxing is here. He's in the chat, but I don't think he makes videos anymore. Sadly, that's what it is. It's up to them, His progress got stopped by Joyce when he fought Jack. People were saying he was done. Wilder was good. In theory, not that good to begin with. Zhang had poor stamina. Yeah, but like, again, I see what you're saying. You're right about all that, but it's still a pretty good resume by the standard of most of the guys at heavyweight, Did you ever call into the BDA panel? I've been on the BDA panel before. I've been on it a couple of times. Not for years, though. Not for years. Yeah, not really interested, William Scholl took a dive and also basically admitted it. William Scholl said in an interview that Turki Al-Sheikh told him not to hurt Canelo. Well, hey, I've been saying it for years. All Canelo's fights are fixed. That's just another guy basically admitting it. I haven't checked your video about Cruiserweight. Yeah, I was basically just talking about how the Cruiserweight division sucks now. How it's gone completely shot. It seems to be a shot division, Just no quality in there anymore. All the best fighters are old or done, Tony versus Jirov made a permanent Cruiserweight fan. Yeah, that was a good fight. Good fight. Cruiserweight are hard men. The likes of Shakur or Devin definitely wouldn't last long. Oh yeah, if you can't punch, you're going nowhere in the Cruiserweight division, or at least like when the Cruiserweight division was good a few years back. You're going nowhere. Pick for Norman versus Sasaki on Thursday. I think it's very close. I'm leaning on Norman. I'm going with Norman in that fight, but let's not forget it is in Japan. I think it's in Japan anyway. So Sasaki might be able to pull off an upset, fighting in front of the home crowd, and that might spur him on a bit. Like, I'm not saying there'll be any corruption, just fighting at home might spur him on a bit. But I do think Brian Norman is more talented, the bigger puncher. I think he'll probably win in a competitive fight. So yeah, I am favouring Norman for the fight. I get your criticisms of Opetaia. Who's stepping up to fight him? Well, again, look, we don't know all the details of like the contract. We don't know who he's offered to fight and who he's been in negotiation to fight with. But what I can say is there's plenty of contenders out there who are ranked, who would be able to fight for that IBF title, who are better than the guy he just fought, who was just an absolute no-hoper. It was just cynical matchmaking, in my opinion, Holyfield versus Povetkin. Povetkin on points. Povetkin dominates Holyfield and beats him on points. And if it was Holyfield from like the later part of his career where they could have fought, then Povetkin stops him. But Holyfield in his prime, Povetkin wins on points. Prime for prime, would Tyan Booth beat Canelo in a real fight? Yes, probably on points. Probably on points. Do you think Steve Collins deserves more praise for the Eubank wins, as Eubank went up to Cruiserweight afterwards and had wars with Carl Thompson? Yeah, I think Steve Collins would have beaten any version of Eubank and any version of Nigel Benn. I don't buy the idea that he beat them because they were shot, because they weren't shot. They were past their prime, but they weren't shot, and neither of those fights were particularly competitive. I think Steve Collins, and let's not forget he was older than Eubank anyway. I think Steve Collins would have beaten any version of Eubank or Ben. I think Steve Collins was just better. And I don't think Jean Pascal had much of a chance against Cieslak. Do you know, I think Cieslak is the better fighter. He'll probably win, but I think there's a good chance he'll get robbed in that fight. I've got a feeling like that Pascal's going to win that fight by a controversial decision. That's what I think's the most likely outcome, actually, because the fight's in Canada. Pascal has some sort of good relationship with the WBC, who are going to be appointing the judges, I assume. They've got a long-standing relationship there, and Pascal's very, very good at finding a way out of fights if he's getting beaten up, like headbutting or spoiling or whatever. So I think that Cieslak will probably win the fight, but I think he'll get screwed over, and Pascal will win by either like a controversial decision or like a technical decision or something. That's what I see happening, you know. So my prediction for that fight, I could be wrong, but my prediction for it is a controversial decision for Pascal. That's what I think will probably happen. But I do think Cieslak will be the real winner, and if it's fairly officiated, I think he'll win. You know, Parker versus Fury would be an all right fight now. You know, do you know what? I don't even know who I'd pick now. That depends what Fury's got left, you know. But I don't think they'll fight because they're good friends and they seem very, very friendly with each other. So I don't think that will happen, that fight. Mike McCallum versus Steve Collins. Great fight to watch. Yeah, true. Yeah, McCallum did a great job there, but Collins put up a good fight. He really did. It was given to me by certain acts I did. Oh, your name. Lovkin. Do you believe Canelo Golovkin 2 was fixed? Yes, absolutely. Certain the third fight. All three of them were fixed. Canelo's never had a fight that wasn't. He's never had a fight that wasn't fixed. Real fight, he doesn't last 3 rounds with Golovkin. I agree that Parker has improved and has fought more top 10 competition than Fury. Otto Wallin, Tom Schwartz was like, who's this? Francis fight was an embarrassment. Yeah, the Francis fight was just a fix. That was a work. That was a work, that fight. That's all it was. Fury could have easily stopped him. And he won that fight anyway. William Skull apparently said in a foreign interview, yeah, I was talking about that there. What William Skull said that they told him not to hurt Canelo, or Turkey did. Turkey came in the dressing room, told him not to hurt Canelo, just reminding him of the script, basically. As if he needed reminding. I mean, as if that wasn't all figured out in the contracts beforehand, before the fight happened, you know? Yeah, how's it going, man? God bless you. I think all these Japanese guys have a ton of heart. I'm afraid of betting Norman and Sasaki not going the distance. Do you see Zerdo having any problems with it? Oh, you're on about Dorticos. I think Dorticos has a puncher's chance in that fight, but I don't give him much else. So I think Zerdo will probably school him, probably win every round, if you know most of the rounds, if not. And I just give Dorticos a puncher's chance. But I think Dorticos is past his prime, bordering on shot. So I think Zerdo wins on points easily. Norman is still a prospect, but seems to get better every fight. Sasaki has that one punch power to lay someone out. Should be a good fight. Yeah, and again, he's like Thingy was saying, he's a Japanese guy and fighting at home, and they're always tough, those guys. So yeah, that's a good fight, but I do still favour Norman. I think he is the more talented fighter of the two. I think he'll probably win it. I would go with Duran over Chavez, just a better fighter in every aspect. They were both very tough, but Duran was so much more skilled, so much more powerful. He would win easily on points, in my opinion. That fight's in Canada. Yeah. Pascal Cieslak's in Canada, which is one of the main reasons I think Cieslak will probably get robbed if it's close and competitive, you know. Fury's riding off Vladimir and Wilder. Washed Wilder, only credible because Fury was in there the right time, building a career-defining trilogy. You take that away, there's nothing. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, look, Fury has beaten some decent guys at domestic level. You know, guys like Chisora and McDermott and whatnot. You know, he's beaten some contenders. You know, Wallin and you know, Dillian White, who was like ranked number 3 in the division. Fury's done all right. His resume is not as bad as some people say. Like, it's not great. He doesn't have a great resume, but it's not as bad as some people say it is. It's not that bad, you know. But I do think he's cherry-picked here and there in his career, you know. Was the Donaire recent fight fixed? I didn't see it, so I have no idea. Could have been, though. You never know. And, yeah, maybe the Manny fight will be, too. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe the way to go is to get Pascal to get stopped. Yeah, like Pascal could get stopped. Cieslak's a much bigger guy, and at this stage he's probably a bigger puncher. But I think, I just think that there's a good chance Pascal will have the survival instincts and the durability to get through it and get a hometown decision. I think that could potentially happen. Cieslak knocked out a guy who nearly went the distance with Beterbiev. Yeah, but that guy was never the same after the Beterbiev fight. That was a slow, debilitating beating. That's what it was. I just got a text message from a restaurant that I sometimes go to, telling me to celebrate Father's Day with an offer. Hey, listen, I don't celebrate Father's Day. Enough of that. All right, where was I? A guy named Eifert was able to get the decision in Canada when he beat Pascal. Cieslak is taller, huge wingspan, and can punch according to his record. Yeah, true. But it's just call it a gut feeling. Call it gut instinct. I mean, this is for the WBC interim title. There's a lot more at stake. I don't know, man. Just call it gut instinct. We'll see, though. We'll see. Long-term, Turkey and Saudis aren't good for boxing. Yeah, I agree because once they stop investing money into boxing as like a side hustle or whatever it is they're doing, all these guys are going to continue to demand big paydays, but they're not going to get it. They're not going to get the paydays that they've been used to getting, and it's just going to make them soft and make them lack ambition. What do you think about Inoue's last performance, which was against Roman Cardenas? I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it, so I don't know, man. But yeah, I was talking about it earlier. I knew Inoue was fighting, and I heard he won, but I didn't see the fight, But I will probably check it out. Canelo versus Rocky Fielding was so funny. Rocky was happy losing, taking a dive for Canelo. You see when he gets hit to the body, Rocky Fielding, and Rocky Fielding's a big, strong guy, right? He gets hit with like a slap to the body that wouldn't even drop like your average amateur. He goes down to his knees, smiling, like, I'm getting paid millions of pounds for this. That's what it looked like to me. Like he got hit to the body. Again, no professional fighter worth their soul would go down from that body punch, right? And he goes down, smiles, and then he's like, yeah, he's thinking about bloody all the things he's going to spend the money on when he gets it, That's what he was thinking. It's pathetic. That guy is a disgrace. What an absolute, bitch-made coward that guy was, just selling his world title like that. Ridiculous, Salvador Sanchez moving up to 130 to face Floyd. Floyd might be a little bit too big, but Sanchez was by far the better puncher. I mean, the better fighter, no doubt about it. Fury's win over Cunningham was good. Yeah, it was. And that was a, out of shape Fury who fought Cunningham and fought like an idiot too, like stood in front of him and just brawled like a madman. And got dropped and outboxed for a few rounds. But eventually, just the size and strength and power and stamina got too much for him. And Fury became the first guy and I think the only guy to ever knock out Steve Cunningham. A lot of other guys, like big punchers at cruiserweight and heavyweight, weren't able to do that. So quite interesting, I'm putting money on Manny. It's probably worth a bet, because Manny's a 3-1 underdog. So I might actually stick a $5 on him or something, just for a punt. I might do the same with Pascal. I've actually made a decent little bit of money lately betting on boxing, because I bet an accumulator last week, I think it was, and I just like bet on a bunch of fighters. I bet on a bunch of favorites. I bet like £20. And I made like £41.90 or something like that when, just on a bunch of favorites that I was pretty much sure were going to win. I also made 70 quid on that Josh Taylor fight. I bet like a bit of money there, and I made a decent payday from it. So yeah, I made a little bit recently, and I'm thinking of sticking a fiver on Pascal as just kind of a punt, and maybe one on Manny as well. Thinking of doing that. I think that'll be quite interesting. No, no, Steve Cunningham wasn't a cherry pick. Steve Cunningham's a good fighter. Steve Cunningham was a world class cruiserweight. Like Steve Cunningham, in my opinion, at that point in time, was one of America's best fighters. Like I think he was definitely one of their best fighters. Do you think Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason's a good fight? I've never watched Sam Noakes, but Abdullah Mason looks pretty good so far. He hasn't fought anybody, but he looks pretty good so far. He'll probably win. Fury has some solid names: Chisora, Cunningham, Johnson, Hammer, Patrick, and let's not forget all of those guys I just mentioned were world rank contenders at the time that Fury fought them. Every single one of them. I mean, you might look back at that now and say they weren't very good, but at the time, people weren't saying that. People were saying they were good fighters at the time. Yeah, how's it going, CPB? Good to see you here, man, every time. God bless you. I disagree with people's gut feeling on Dubois beating Usyk. I could see Usyk doing to Dubois what Corey Sanders did to Vlad. I don't think it'll be that quick, personally. I don't think it'll be that quick, but I think it'll be all right. Like, as long as Usyk basically does what he did in the first fight, he should win. But a lot of it will depend on what Dubois is allowed to get away with the referee. So we will have to wait and see, won't we? He's still going hard in sparring. I certainly am. I sparred about 6 rounds yesterday, but I didn't do that well yesterday because I was just exhausted. Because I was telling you guys I was working like 4 shifts back to back, and I wasn't getting much sleep. Also, like lifting weights, like I went to the gym the other day to do some squats, and I decided to just do a light day. Now I can squat over 107.5 kilograms for reps. I can do that, right, ordinarily. But I decided to have a light day on the squat. So I was like, I basically did like I attempted 3 sets of 10 at just 90 kilograms, which is not a lot of weight for me to squat. I can do that easily, right? But at the end, like I failed to finish my 3rd set, and I felt a lot of pain. And then the next day that I went to the weight gym, I dropped the weight down a lot. Like I went down to about 80 kilogram squat, which is nothing for my squat, right? And I could barely even get 5 reps. My knee was killing me. Like I had like excruciating pain in my left knee, and I just felt like absolute shite. I couldn't do anything. My body was just weak, and I was exhausted. And I think the reason for it, like I said, is lack of sleep, lack of recovery, and my diet hasn't been very good the past couple of weeks. So the other day, the day before yesterday, I had a sparring session. I sparred 6 rounds, and I didn't do particularly well. Like I did all right for the first couple, then I kind of gassed out, and then yeah, I took a bit of a beating in the last couple of rounds because like my knees were sore, my back was sore, everything. I just didn't have any energy, so it was a pretty bad session. I turned up to work with a black eye and all that. It was quite funny because people like all the punters and all that at work. Well, a lot of them were coming up and asking, um, they're asking like, "Have you been fighting on the job and all that?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. It's from the boxing gym." And it is quite an interesting like conversation piece. But yeah, basically, I've been sparring hard, but I've been having a few issues with recovery just because of all the hours I've been working, and again, lack of sleep and diet and all that. So I didn't do particularly well in my last training session. But hopefully, because again, I've handed in my notice at my day job, and I'm just going to be doing security and doing it as and when required. I'm going to be able to dedicate more time to training and that. So it'll be all right. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm going to be relaxing over the next few days and get some good rest. Chisora equals bum, and that's the best on that list. Well, if Chisora's a bum, what does that say about, like, some of the guys he's beaten, like Joyce and Wallin and whatnot? They must have been shocking, right? You know? The body shot versus fielding remind me of De La Hoya versus Hopkins. Yes, yes. Both punches look weird the way they land. Very, very similar. Very, very similar. Mate, let me tell you something, right? Again, I was just talking about my sparring session the other day. Mate, I had a lot of pain in my knee. I had pain in my back, my shoulders, my biceps, everything. My whole body was just exhausted, right? And I was really, really like out of condition just because of the lack of recovery. And I got hit with like full force, like fully loaded body punches from a couple of heavyweights, and I never went down. I never went close to going down. So I never came close to going down. So if a guy like Rocky Fielding, again, world class professional, a guy who's bigger than his opponent, stronger, going in there for a world title fight, supposedly in the best shape of his life, and he gets hit to the body with basically a slap, right? And then he goes down to his knees. I don't buy it. I don't buy a world class professional athlete fighting a guy half his size and going down like that from a body punch. I don't buy it. And then smiling. Because when guys go down from body punches and they're hurt, these guys are in agony. Like if you look at when um like, for example, when Josh Taylor knocked out, what was his name? That Ryan Martin guy. I know he hurt him like with a shot to the head, but like you see the way the guy doubled over from the uppercut to the body, or you think of when Ricky Hatton knocked out Castillo with that like liver shot, right? You see these guys, or that other guy that Josh Taylor knocked out, that a Pin and Kong song. When these guys go down and you can see they've like ruptured a kidney or something, or maybe broken a rib, and their whole body just shuts down. They're gasping for air. They're in excruciating pain. They look like they're about to cry. They look like they just want to quit. Like that's how guys look when they get knocked out with a body punch, or when you get dropped with a body punch. You see an immediate effect from it, like even if there's a delayed reaction. But when Rocky Fielding gets hit with that body punch, and the way he just goes to his knees, he's smiling, he's perfectly fine. You can see he's not hurt. There was nothing on the punch really. He's probably been hit harder than that in sparring. You can just see he's there for the paycheck. He's like, all right, I'm here. I've gone a few rounds now. I don't need to do anything. I'm gonna get my career high payday. Now I can retire if I want to. And what's he done since that fight? Nothing worth mentioning. You think he would have come back and tried to avenge his defeat or try to improve, but no, he found his lottery ticket. He got that WBA title in a fight that was quite dubious, as it was. And then he just took a dive for a retirement payday. He got his pension off the back of that fight. So, yeah, it was shameful in my opinion. That was one of the most obvious dives you will ever see in boxing, in my opinion. But that's all it is, my opinion. Man, I am feeling tired. Yeah, he still didn't drop Fury. Fury's never been stopped. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. Fury's never been stopped. Which is surprising given some of the punches he's taken, like especially that one he took off Usyk in the first fight. The thing about Salvador Sanchez, he was slick, had a crowd-pleasing style. Yeah, he did, yeah. Salvador Sanchez was a guy who just wouldn't stop punching, but he also had a lot of skills too. Very, very underrated fighter. What boxing DVDs have you got in your collection? I've actually got a lot of boxing DVDs. I might actually show you guys one day in a video my DVD collection. Like, I've got some like a lot of bootlegs. Like, I've got, for example, all of I've got all of Arthur Abraham's career up until like 2010. I've got Sven Otke's career. I've got like the World Boxing Super Series. I've got that on Blu-ray, as well as some other fights on Blu-ray. I've got like a lot of like actual licensed DVDs. Like I've got some Joe Calzaghe DVDs. I've got a few of them on his career and whatnot. Some documentaries and that. I've got like a Ricky Hatton DVD. I've got I did have a couple of like I had an Amir Khan DVD and a Hatton Mayweather DVD. I sold those though. I've got like one of those like the Sun's top knockout videos or whatever, and that Frank Warren best of boxing and stuff like that, all that sort of stuff. I've got some like greatest heavyweights ever videos and some Muhammad Ali videos and stuff like that. I've got a lot of videos on boxing. Um, but yeah, the one I've probably watched the most out of all of them is that Joe Calzaghe Super Champion video. I love watching that. That video always gets me like, or that DVD always gets me like hyped up for training when I watch it and that. So yeah, I've got a bunch of boxing DVDs, quite a few of them. My all-time favorite boxer, it's probably, to be honest, it's probably still Manny Pacquiao. To be honest, it probably is. I used Steve Cunningham and Nevin Patrick as an example to my coworkers when they told me Usyk had no chance against Fury. They didn't have a counter argument. Yeah. No one's ever knocked Fury down, so Usyk won't. Yeah, exactly. Well, those two have. But they probably didn't know who they were. I think Dubois panics and has a meltdown against Usyk. His temperament is all wrong. Yeah, it could happen the same way. It could be the same fight all over again. Usyk could just toy with him and make him quit. You never know. You'd have to say that's the most likely outcome. You know. Oh yeah, I forgot once that Francisco Estrada was fighting. I saw that on BoxRec. So yeah, did he win as well? Yeah, Estrada is a little bit past his prime, but yeah, he can still win at that level, I guess. I remember watching Fury Cunningham fight on Channel 5. Yeah, do you know? I don't think I watched that one live, if I remember rightly. I think I was doing something else that night. I don't think I watched it live. Also, Fury did try to fight Hay, which would have been a great win at the time. Oh yeah, if Fury had beaten David Hay back then in like 2013, whenever it was, that would have been his career best win at the time. Especially if he could have stopped him and like outdid Klitschko's performance. But you never know. Usyk on a recent sparring footage has the first Dubois fight playing in the background, and it's been edited and paused to see for mistakes and improvements. Usyk could just go in and massacre Dubois. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope he does, because if he loses, that's quite embarrassing. And it's quite anticlimactic for a way to potentially end Usyk's career, in it. Losing to a guy he's already schooled and stopped. So let's just hope that doesn't happen. Let's just hope it doesn't. Sky got rid of the moron Shalom, the fool that ruined boxing. Or did they? Did they get rid of him? Or do you mean you want them to get rid of him? Is that what you mean? Um, I didn't know. I didn't hear they got rid of him. If they did, oh, Donnell won a technical decision in his fight. Claimed he couldn't see. Anyone is entitled to bow out from a fight after getting headbutted. It's him. Oh, is that what happened then? So there was a clash of heads, and he quit, and then it went to the decision, and he won. I see. Back in a minute. I'm just going to the toilet. Back in a minute. Okay, what was I? Dubois just a younger Joshua with a better jab. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Dubois is quite similar to Joshua stylistically, although I know this will seem contradictory because Usyk beat or Dubois beat AJ, but I do think AJ at his prime is a better fighter than Dubois. I think he's stronger. I think he's a bigger puncher, better athlete, slightly better stamina. I do think AJ is a better fighter. I genuinely do. It's just on that night, Dubois was better. On that night, Dubois was more motivated and he got the win, you know? So yeah, that was what happened there, wasn't it? Where was I? I'm scrolling up here. Usyk could beat up Dubois and win a stoppage late. Yeah, well, that's what happened in the first fight, isn't it? So that's definitely a very, very possible fight. You ever try the hack squat machine? It helps avoiding injuries. I've never done that. I don't even know what that is actually. I've heard it before, but I don't actually know what it is. All I know is like usually when I squat, I've squatted. My heaviest squat is 107.5, and again I can do that for reps. But this week, because of just the lack of recovery, I was struggling to even do 90k, and like even when I put it down to 80k, I was still getting pain in my leg and all that. Like it was my left knee in particular, and like some of the muscles in my right leg were sore. And it's just I put it down to lack of sleep because usually I can recover quite well from squats, but it's a kind of thing where because I'm not getting the proper rest and again my diet has been crap lately because I was working two jobs. Obviously I've handed in my notice now, but because I've been working two jobs, I've not had time to prepare like good nutritious meals. So I've just kind of been eating junk lately over the past couple of weeks, and it's not helped with my recovery at all. And yeah, obviously like being all stressed from weight training and trying to box and spar at the same time. Like I was in the boxing gym 3 days this week, and I was sparring hard the other day. So like I'm definitely gonna need to prioritize recovery a bit better. You sound tired this stream, Nordic. Understood, working constantly with poor diet and lack of sleep is draining. Yeah, yeah, you're right, man. You're right. Like, it's weird because, like, I didn't feel too bad when I got up this morning. I got up like early afternoon. Well, it was actually my missus woke me up this morning because I didn't get in until about 1:47 or something last night. That was when I got in because I finished at like 1:15 and I walked home. And yeah, she got me up and like she made me a fry up and all that. It was banging. I really enjoyed it. And then she left. Like she's gone to meet her dad because it's like Father's Day today or whatever. She's gone to meet him. And yeah, she won't be back till this afternoon. I figured I'll make a live, but as soon as I like got up and like I played my Xbox for a little bit, then started this, I started to feel tired again. It's like everything's caught up with me, even though I got a decent sleep when I got in and I had a big breakfast and that. I still feel bloody tired for some reason, man. I still feel tired. It's just one of them. It's like I just I need a good few days, I reckon. A good few days of resting, chilling out, and getting proper sleep and proper nutrition. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna end up like I'm gonna buy like loads of fish, some steak, some veggies, some better quality carbs and protein and all that. And I'm gonna try and get my diet under control. Stop eating junk basically. I've been eating like flipping loads of sugar and had a couple of takeaways and all that. I need to sort myself out. Not been doing well this past couple of weeks in that regard. What are your chances against Hitchinson in a street fight? I don't know actually. I'm probably a lot bigger, a lot heavier, so probably do all right. Yeah, I agree. Although I would favor Fury, I think in the first 4 or 5 rounds, that would be a very, very dangerous fight. Like Hay had the power and the explosivity to knock Fury out early if he caught him. Fury's never been hit as hard in his life as what Hay might have hit him in the early rounds or as fast. So, like, think of what happened against Cunningham in the second round. If that's David Hay hitting him, Fury's getting knocked out. he's probably not getting up, and he's getting knocked out. So give Hay a very good puncher's chance early on, yeah, especially in the first three. But um, after that, it's all Fury. He's got better stamina. He's more durable. He'd probably take him out late. Did you have the rematch with that 200-pound heavyweight? Yeah. I've sparred him a few times. Sparred that guy a few times, and yeah, we've had some nasty spars. Me and that guy, it's been quite brutal, and there's a couple other heavyweights I've sparred too, and it's been pretty brutal too. And yeah, we've done all right. I've done all right. I haven't gotten my ass kicked like I did that one time, like because now I'm being aggressive. I'm fighting on the front foot. I've busted a couple of noses and stuff like that. I've done all right actually. Um, so yeah, I've sparred with several heavyweights recently, and um, I've held my own. Like as long as I can get my as long as I can get my recovery under control, I'm fine in sparring. I don't care who it is I'm in with. I don't care how big they are. I can always give a good account of myself, whoever it is. And I prefer sparring heavyweights because, see, if I'm in the ring with someone smaller and lighter than me, I've still got that nagging thing in the back of my mind where I'm scared to hurt them. But if I'm in with a heavyweight, I'm not scared to hurt them because they're a heavyweight. I can give as good as I get. But yeah, that's how it is. But yeah, to answer your question, we've sparred several times. Lack of sleep hurts your metabolism. Yeah, it does. It does. That it definitely does. See if you don't get sleep, like your body just doesn't like burn calories like it should. So yeah, that's how it is. What getting sleep, getting a good night's sleep is very important for everybody. Very important. Haywood have knocked out Fury. Yeah, he had a good chance. Again, I still favour Fury if he can survive the early rounds and stop him later, but he definitely had a chance early on. Yeah, he definitely could have. Definitely early in the fight. How's it going, Alex? Nordic, where I live at, some guy with military experience and survival training killed his daughters and disappeared into the woods, and he's still there 2 weeks later. Almost 2 weeks later. Really? Um, like, whereabouts is it you live? Like, I've not heard about that. Then again, I don't watch the news. Where is it you live? Remember when Canelo said he wanted to move up and fight Usyk? Could you imagine how that would look if they tried to fix that? Could you imagine Usyk just taking a dive, like Usyk getting hit to the body and going down to his knees like Rocky Fielding? Could you imagine that? That'd be funny, wouldn't it? I'd probably take Hay over Fury too. He used to get hit and hurt by right hands regularly back then. Doesn't bode well against Hay. Yeah, I definitely think he'd get hurt early and he may get dropped. If Fury was able to get up and survive, though, that makes it a very, very competitive fight. Um, do you think? Yeah, because I think Fury would come back if he got through the early rounds. Yeah. Kovalev definitely took a dive. I'm 100% sure about that. It's as obvious a dive as you'll ever see. The England football team. I don't watch football. I've never watched it. Well, no, I've not never watched it. I've watched it, but I've never been interested in it. It's not a sport that interests me. Plus, most of the England players aren't even English, are they? So it's not really the England team, in my opinion. It's more an international team of guys who were born into football. Yeah, it would be cool if you showed us your boxing DVD collection. Yeah, I might just do that. It's probably a good idea. Yeah, Hat and Zoo had their 20th anniversary the other day. Yeah, I've got that. I've got that fight on DVD. Hatton versus Zoo. That's on that Hatton DVD that I've got. It comes with the full Costa Zoo fight. Watched it a few times. Yeah, I'm favouring Fundora to beat Zoo in the rematch. Zoo can win it, but I just don't think he's looked particularly good since that first fight. I think he's declined significantly. So unless he's improved a lot from his last couple of fights, I see him losing again. But we'll see, won't we? Have you seen the movie Deer Hunter? Is that movie with Robert De Niro. I've never seen it though. If it's the movie I'm thinking of, I know of it, but I've never seen it. If Dubois bottles it at Wembley with all the UK media pressure, then I don't think his confidence will ever be the same. Yeah, yeah. Imagine like quitting in a stadium like that with everybody rooting for you and with all the trash you've talked before it. That'll be one of the most difficult embarrassments to come back from. But at least he'll get paid well. At least he'll get his pension off the back of it, won't he? So he'll be all right. Zhang versus Fraser. You mean Joe Fraser? Zhang knocks him out in the first round. Far too big, far too powerful. Knocks him out in the first round, in my opinion. Do you think Fundora is going to hold on to the belt for a while? He's only 27. Do you know, I doubt it, because I don't think he'll be able to make weight much longer at 154. And there'll be a lot of young, hungry guys, and guys like Muratalev and, Virgil Ortiz and Boachuk and guys like that who will see him as food. So, no, I think he's not going to hold that belt for too much longer. Like, I'll be surprised if he has it for like 2 years or something, unless he just cherry picks. If he fights world-class fighters, I don't think so. Shalom lost Sky contract, basically not renewed. Yeah, that's so that's what's happened then. Oh well, not a particularly bad loss for boxing, is it? I mean, that guy was just a charisma vacuum anyway, wasn't he? Do you see the Sky Nicholson and Chisora video? No, I didn't. Why? What happened? Yeah, I'd not seen that. What's your bench press, Nordic? Oh, I don't know what my 1 rep max is, but the max that I've ever benched for reps is 90k. I can do like 3 sets of 5 relatively easy on a good day at 90k. But I've never actually tested my 1 rep max on the bench. Never tested it. The most I've ever overhead pressed for 1 rep is 100 and no, sorry, what am I saying? The most I've ever overhead pressed for 1 rep is 77.5, but that's a grind. Like, see, to just get 1 rep on that, I can do it on a good day, but it is a grind. Like, I have to really, really force the rep out of me, But I can do 3 sets of 5 with 70k overhead press. I believe I've even done 72.5. But that again, that's difficult. But yeah, bench press. I don't do bench press very often. Like, I don't do it as much as I do the other lifts. So I've kind of neglected it. But the most I've ever done for reps is 90k. Did you film it? No. Again, I'm not allowed to film it. I'm not allowed to film my sparring in that gym. I did it once, and the coach had a bitch fit over it and moaned at me. So yeah, I've not been able to do it. I've got a little bit of footage at me sparring in that gym. And maybe one day when I'm no longer in that gym, I'll show it. It's not particularly interesting footage, but I will show it one day. But I promised the coach, like I gave him my word, I wouldn't send the footage to anyone. So while I'm at that gym, I'm probably just going to keep it to myself. But like one day, I'll probably I'll show like bits of it basically. But like that was a couple of months back, and it's not particularly interesting footage. But yeah, I've not filmed any of my recent spars. I've not filmed any of them because I'm not allowed. The coaches don't like it. They complain about it. Where do you live at, Nordic? I live up in Inverclyde at the moment, just outside of Glasgow. Do you think you would have Canelo in the streets? Absolutely. Because I'm like the hardest doorman in Glasgow. I'm kidding. No, but I would have Canelo in the street. No doubt about it. I'd kick his ass. I'd kick his ass on the street. No doubt about it. I don't think Canelo's ever had a street fight. Do you reckon you could drop Tyson Fury with a good shot? No, absolutely not. Tyson Fury is way too big for me. Again, guys, I'm only 5'8". I'm 5'8". I couldn't even catch Fury's chin. I would need a step ladder to catch Fury's chin. I would. So he's just way too big. I wouldn't have a chance. And he's a world-class fighter with great defense. So no, I wouldn't stand even the slightest chance of landing one significant punch against Fury. I wouldn't. I honestly think if the powers that be enforced 10, 8 rounds, against the guy getting the shit beat out of him. I think Opetaia should have lost that Briedis fight. Well, yeah, because there were a couple of rounds in that fight where he was like getting his head smacked around all over the place and his jaw was broken. So if a couple of those were scored 10-8, he probably would have lost, you know. But judges rarely do that. They rarely score 10-8 rounds when a guy doesn't get dropped, you know. So it is what it is. Oh, Washington State, is that where you live? Yeah, because I was going to say if it happened in the UK, I probably would have heard of it. But yeah, Washington State. Yeah, hopefully they catch him then. Hopefully. Just to keep everybody safe, you know. I took a time out to watch your video, and I get your criticism of Opetaia. You got to realize Tim Tszyu is a damaged product. Yeah. Tim Tszyu is he's damaged goods. He's taken too many punches and just hasn't seemed to recover from that first loss, has he? He hasn't looked good since then. It's just not a good look for him, you know. Yeah, I like the Australians. I got nothing against them. It's a shark in the water. Speaking of, I like Aussies. I like Australians, you know. Speaking of a fight of the century, I recently rewatched Ali Fraser fights. Unbelievable brutality. Two of them were hard. Oh yeah, Ali and Fraser both had a great chin. They did. If Ali had power, Fraser would have stood no chance. Or if he had like world-class power. Likewise, if Fraser was like the same size as Ali, like Ali wouldn't have stood a chance. But yeah, they were actually great fights to watch, particularly the first fight. They definitely were. The Canelo hype was ridiculous back in the day. People were talking as if Makabu would be easy and Usyk Fury were the only ones to challenge him. Yeah, people were literally saying he could beat Fury and Usyk. Like, that's because his fights were so obviously fixed that you just couldn't envision him going in there and somebody not just capitulating and not trying, you know? Would have been so funny if they made those fights, though. I thought Opetaia won the Briedis rematch convincingly, but even in that fight, Briedis had him in trouble in the last rounds. Yeah, Briedis in his prime, I definitely think would have beaten Opetaia. Oh, she's home. She's just come in through the door. But yeah, I thought Opetaia got Briedis like when he was on the decline, when he was inactive, when he was chasing Jake Paul and acting like a weirdo online, and he wasn't really committed to boxing anymore like he was before. So yeah, I definitely think he got him. You know, he got him at the right time. He definitely wasn't in his prime, you know. But I think in his prime he would have won. Never mind Usyk. Imagine if someone like Briedis going to the body or flat out getting schooled by Canelo. Yeah. Could you imagine that? I mean, guys, someone like Marco Huck, do you think he would go down against Canelo, really? Do you think someone like Dorticos or Glavatsky would go down against Canelo? Of course not. Not in a real fight. Not unless you paid them millions of dollars to do so, you know? Why'd you say a lot of the England football players aren't English? What? I don't know. Look, I don't follow football. I don't follow it at all. I know bugger all about it. It's not my sport. It's something I've never been interested in, you know. It's a sport for normies as far as I'm concerned. You know, the Zhu family is an example of why I think there's something about Moses Italma that spells hype job. Oh, you okay? What's up? Okay, that's fine. How was it? It was that bad? Oh. Where did you just go?
Didn't leave.
Oh yeah. Well, you.
I've not even had dinner.
No, but you knew that was going to happen anyway. Okay. Where was I? What was I saying? You know, the Zhu family is an example of why I think there's something. Yeah. Just read that, didn't I? Moses Italma that spells hype job. Why is the Zhu family an example of that though? Like, what's the connection between them and Opetaia and Italma? I don't get it. But yeah, look. What you got to remember about Italma is dude's only 19. I mean, he's basically a kid. You know, it's like they used to say about Huey Fury. He's only 24. He's only a baby. I mean, you can legit say that about Itauma. Look, the guy's 19 years old. He's not even like grown into his man strength yet. Let the guy develop. You know, let the guy actually fight somebody. You know, let him actually achieve something before we talk about you know, whether or not he's a hype job and that. I don't know, man. Particularly excited about him is all I'm going to say. Even if you believe the Canelo hype, the good names on his career have been washed greats, journeymen, or just okay contenders. The only prime guy he's faced is Caleb Plant. But again, Caleb Plant took an obvious dive. Look, the Caleb Plant fight, that fight followed the exact same script. The exact same script as the Kovalev fight. Just throw punches to the side of his head, look like you're trying to box him at long range, but basically just play patty cake with the guy and don't try to hit him, right? And then in the 11th round, go down like a sack of spuds from a looping shot that you know, an amateur would have been able to see coming. It's shocking, man. That's just a piss take, man. Look, all the Canelo's fights are like that. Caleb Plant in a real fight would probably do to Canelo the same thing he did to Anthony Durrell. He'd probably lay him out after like a savage beating. You know, it would be one-sided. He's like, Canelo's like half his size, you know. Just an obvious fix. All of his fights are. Lack of punch resistance, something that's often family related. Well, I don't know. Zug, you know, Costa Zoo had decent punch resistance, from what I can remember, you know. Better than his son, anyway. Carol Itauma got sparked by a bomb on the Beterbiev yard undercard. Yeah, I've not seen that, so I've no idea. You could be right, though. It could be a genetic trait that they don't all have. But some relatives, like Vladimir, don't. Vitaly has a great chin. Vladimir doesn't, you know. Joe Frazier was the type of fighter you had to nail him to the canvas to truly stop him. Guys are too big now. Yeah, guys now. Frazier was tough. He had a lot of heart, but every single time he would get hit cleanly, like he didn't really have the defense and the intelligence to get out of trouble. And modern heavyweights would just knock him out. Far too big for him. They'd destroy him, you know. Nordic is having a farm with arable land considered a good business in the UK. No, it's not. Like, there's no money in farming at all. That's why most people don't even bother with it, you know. It's all just government owned nowadays, basically, you know. I don't view the 154-pound division as this great division like a lot of other people do. Even the younger guys are losing to guys they're supposed to beat or going the distance with bums. Yeah. Yeah, but I do think there's some like genuine talents, guys like Muratalev, for example, and, you know, guys like Virgil Ortiz and Boachuk. These are all like strong, big punchers, decent fighters, you know. But I do agree the division is kind of stale aside from that, you know. Nordic, do you take any PEDs? You look massive. No, I've never taken PEDs unless you consider Iron Brew to be a PED. That's like but yeah, I am kind of big. But then again, I'm just one of those people. I gain weight very easily and I gain muscle very easily without even really trying. It's one of them. What do you want? Oh, I had them earlier. Where did I put them? There you are. No worries. But yeah, no, I've never taken PEDs. No, I'd be too scared of the potential side effects. You know, like heart problems and you know, killing my libido and all that. Nah, I'd be, you know, because a lot of people take steroids and all that. They end up with not being able to produce testosterone. You know, their balls basically lose function, and again, they end up with like an enlarged heart and all that. So I'm scared to take PEDs. I'm scared to take them. So I probably never will. Never say never, but probably never. Probably, you know. Same with Muhammad Ali. I don't believe Usyk Fury stop him in the first round. Usyk beats him on poles and points Fury. I disagree. I think Usyk and Fury are far too big and too powerful, and they'd just blow him away easily. I think. I think boxing in the heavyweight division has progressed that much. I genuinely do. Yeah, Fabio Wardley is always going to be in fun fights. He's never going to be a virtuoso master tactician, but that's not what I expect him to be. You know, he's a tough guy with a lot of power who's going to be in very, very entertaining fights. You know, that's what he is. You know, for George Foreman, I think he had the better career compared to Ali and Fraser, as he showed he could compete 2 decades later when older. And actually, yeah, Foreman definitely, he definitely had more intelligence, and like he left the sport, went away, but when he came back, he studied it and he became a much more intellectual fighter, much more intelligent fighter. Used his height and reach, used his strength, and found a way to approach the sport that worked for him even in his older years. So he was definitely the better fighter of them, you know. Even though Ali won when they fought, both at their absolute best, Foreman wins. Foreman's at his best would win easily, you know. Ali struggled with one-eyed Fraser and got dropped by flat-footed Henry Cooper and Sonny Liston. Never took the Foreman rematch either. Yeah, Foreman would have knocked him out in the rematch. After Nordic KO's Canelo would be like, Viva Mexico! Viva Mexico! I was born ready! And all his fanboys are like, Chinga tu madre ese! Taco and burrito! That's what all his fans on the internet will say afterwards. Ay caramba, mi amigo! Have you heard about, I'm so sorry for that, guys. Have you heard about Ilya Tarupia? He's a great boxer in MMA. I know the name, but I don't think I've ever watched him. But yeah, the name rings a bell. Vlad and Vitaly are totally different punchers. Yeah, I mentioned that, didn't I? And I've talked about that in a previous stream. How Vlad never had a great chin, but Vitaly did. But the two are brothers, so it just goes to show you sometimes the genetics don't travel, or the genetic gifts don't run in the family all the time, you know, or they skip generations and whatnot. Who do you think wins between Pulev and Hunter? I'm picking Hunter with Don King involved. Maybe some corruption. Well, that's exactly the reason why I'm picking Hunter. If it was a genuine fair fight with fair officials, I would be picking Pulev in a very close fight to win it, even at 44. But with Don King involved, you know, you gotta pick the Black American. Don King's gonna probably fix it for Hunter. That's probably why he won the purse bid. So I'd only give Pulev a chance if it's on neutral territory with neutral officials. I'd favour him slightly if it was neutral, you know. The dude Caleb Plant just lost to is a joke. Didn't see that coming. That's why I don't rate that win for Canelo or Benavidez. Yeah, I think Caleb Plant is quite shot now. He's past his prime. He's kind of a part-time boxer. And that guy just came forward all night and applied pressure and kind of schooled him here and there, you know. Here's what it is. I think Triple G, just in terms of ability, he is the greatest middleweight of all time. It's just a shame he ruined his legacy by taking a dive to Canelo, you know, or taking 3 dives essentially. Because people, you say he's the greatest in the division ever, they'll say, "Oh, but he lost to Canelo." If it were up to me, you just erase those fights off his record because they're not real. I wish the boxing establishment would just come out and be like, "Okay, this Canelo guy." Just erase every result off this guy's record and get him out of the sport. He's a stain, and just pretend he never existed. And then Triple G's legacy would be what it was, you know? I was gonna bring up Hook. Yeah, Hook was a great fighter. Really, really tough, really hard puncher, you know. Always in a great fight, always entertaining. Yeah, true. Vlad and Vitali are the opposite of each other, you know. Look at the Zoo family. Nikita's chinny. The greatest Costa was ran into the right guy, had issues getting rocked or stopped. Yeah, but he never got like brutally knocked out by one punch, did he? Like Costa was tough, physically tough. He'd get hit and dropped, but he usually got up and usually went out on his shield, you know. But I see what you're saying, though. I do understand what you're saying. I recently started eating fried eggs after training. Need to change up from the dino nuggets. Yeah, I love fried eggs, man. I had a fried egg with my fry up this morning. It was lovely. But I need to get back to eating like fish, steak, eggs, drinking water like instead of juice, drinking water, things like that. Because I've been just drinking fizzy juice like Iron Brew and all that. Should be drinking more water. That's what I should be doing. Because the sugar highs don't help me. Because sometimes, like, see if I'm so tired from all the work I've been doing, and I go to the gym and I'll have like a sugary drink before it. Sometimes I'll get a very, very quick sugar high, but it'll go away after like a minute, and like sometimes even after 30 seconds, and then I end up knackered for the rest of the session. That's why you need proper sleep and nutrition. You can't train without proper sleep and nutrition, not optimally anyway. Bivol versus Canelo is the most obvious spars I've seen. Yeah, Bivol just carried Canelo. That's all he did. He just carried him for 12 rounds, took it easy on him. Could have stopped him in 3 rounds, in my opinion. I also had a good bit of coffee each day. I hate energy drinks, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of energy drinks either. Not a big fan of coffee either, to be honest. I like tea, though. I love a cup of tea every now and then. Sometimes, like on my lunch break or like before bed, I like or even for breakfast. I had one this morning, a cup of tea. I enjoy it. I want to get back to doing some intermittent fasting as well. That's something that I find always helps me. It always does me a lot of good when I do it. Yeah, I know Nikita's not as good though. Like you say, he's chinny, but he is a good fighter though. Entertaining. Will you make a video on Triple G career and Loma? BDA channel discuss Triple G legacy. LDBC members, Mexican fans calling him overrated. Do you know what? I don't even see the point. I don't even see the point because Triple G just flat out sold out, and Loma's kind of great fighter, but kind of anticlimactic. I don't really think there's anything I could say about their careers that other people haven't said already and gone into detail with. I kind of think like with my channel, it's better for me to stick to fighters that I have more of a unique perspective on, or fighters that maybe aren't that well known. Like a Sven Otke, for example, someone that no one else talks about but me. I think that it's better for someone that no one else talks about but me in most cases, for me to make more of an interesting presentation on. It's kind of like, reviewing something that is more obscure, reviewing a career that's more obscure. It's something I prefer to do, Canelo landed a huge shot or Golovkin landed a huge shot on Canelo in the 5th. Looked like he wanted to knock him out. A real fight. No, it wasn't a real fight. Because when Golovkin lands a hard shot and hurts somebody, he chases them and stops them. But in the 3rd fight, he catches him with a jab, hurts him badly, and then just lets him recover. It was clearly fit. All 3 of those fights were fixed. I can't believe anybody thinks either of them wasn't, Understand you live in Scotland, but you heard about the protests and riots going around in the States. Yeah, I've heard about them. But I don't know too much about them. I don't really pay much attention to the news these days. I just don't have the time for it. Don't have the time or the energy for it. Favorite drink after Iron Brew? Mine is Dr. Pepper. I like Lucozade. I don't mind Coke. It's all right. I can't have it too often, but I don't mind it. Like Coke, Pepsi, whatever, similar. What's the other? I like. I used to love Lilt. They don't make that anymore, but now it's been basically bought by Fanta. So it's like one of the Fanta flavors is basically Lilt. I like that. So yeah, there's a few drinks I still like, but Iron Brew is definitely my favorite fizzy drink. But it's better to drink water. Water's better for you. Boychuk just beat Michael Fox a couple of weeks ago. Didn't train, missed weight, didn't stop him like he was supposed to. Oh, really? Oh, but Fox ran around the ring, yeah. See, Boychuk's kind of a stiff fighter. He's kind of like, looks like a bodybuilder, very heavily muscular, but he's a very, very fundamentally sound guy. He's got a great jab. He hits very hard with both hands, and he's consistent. He just breaks you down bit by bit with clubbing shots. And Yeah, he's a good fighter, Boachuk, and I think I think he might be one of these guys who fights to the level of his competition, if you know what I mean. WBC just ordered a rematch with Virgil and Boachuk. It's a good fight, man. I thought Boachuk clearly won the first fight, but Virgil seems to have improved a little bit since. So we'll see what happens there. That'll be interesting. Nordic, I thought the UK government was promoting farming when they have a local that agriculture and property relief. I've never heard of that. You could be right. You're probably more informed about the situation than I am, but mate, I'll be honest. I've never heard of it. I've absolutely never heard of it. I noticed as I get older, when Ali fought, his jab wouldn't do much as people made out. He usually had a flashy combination to keep the opponents off. He had a more powerful fist. He'd have a better jab. He'd be a better jab. Yeah, Ali's jab is overrated. Like, it's not like Larry Holmes's jab, which was phenomenal. Like, his was way better. Ali was kind of more of an athlete than he was like a great technician. He could fight because he was tough and fit, but I don't think he was technically that good, if truth be told. I think a lot of true hardcore fans will see Ali had a lot of weaknesses, haven't been mentioned. Holmes took those weaknesses and became a true ATG. I can see beating guys now. Yeah, Holmes was one of the first like guys who you could see as being like a modern heavyweight. It was very fluid, very technically good, great fighter, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm losing my place in the chat here. I believe Povetkin is going to be in the new Undisputed game soon, along with Dempsey and LaMotta. That drug thing 3 months ago, I don't believe it. The record was never wiped. He's going to be... Mate, that was just fake news. That whole thing, I looked into that situation quite extensively. That thing was entirely fake. There was no drug test. It was just a couple of... Povetkin came out in interviews and voiced his support for Putin, right? And then all of a sudden, conveniently, a bunch of these like third-party websites came out with these articles. Oh, he's tested positive 10 years ago, and his entire record's going to be wiped. And then you're like, when did he test positive and where? Oh, no idea. What did he test positive for? No idea. Who conducted the test? Where did you get this information? Like, nobody's asking these questions. There was literally nothing. It was literally, and the record wasn't wiped. It was literally a bunch of third-party boxing websites making up nonsense. It was literally fake news. That's all it was. And it's scary that people believe it just because it was on a few websites. That's like if I worked for like boxing scene and I decided to publish an article saying that Mike Tyson had a sex change and he had his balls cut off or something, and everybody just believes it. Like, I could literally do that and it would be the same thing, you know. I wouldn't have to provide any proof, any evidence. I could just say it, you know. It's ridiculous, man. It really is. Kowalski's fought Michael Fox, knocked him down twice. That at 147. Boachuk beat him. Couldn't do anything with him, hardly. Oh, I see. Interesting. But like you say, he didn't train, did he? And he wasn't at his best. Why do you think they never robbed Usyk? Well, I'll tell you what, he didn't fight in America. Well, he did fight in America, but he didn't fight in America very often. Like, if Usyk had done what Loma did and moved to America and fought there consistently, he would have lost. They would have set him up to lose to some bum in America, you know. His fights would have been fixed, probably. But because he based his career primarily in Europe, he had a decent run, a decent career, you know. You know, I wouldn't go that far. It was a robbery. Loma won, and it was a robbery, but I've seen worse robberies. Like Kovalev versus Ward, that was far worse. Pacquiao versus Bradley won, that was far worse, you know. Vidal Riley, yeah, he's good, but he hasn't really done anything yet. Still kind of a prospect, you know. I don't drink coffee or tea. I just prefer mixed water, pop, and energy drinks. Yeah, I prefer tea personally. I love a cup of tea. Cup of tea just calms me right down. I can drink tea any time of the day, you know. Tellez J-Rock fight was on the Tank Roach undercard. Everyone else lost money on Tank stopping Roach, where I lost money on Tellez not stopping Williams. I didn't realize J Rock Williams was still around. I thought that guy was like retired or something. Not heard his name in ages. Yeah, I didn't watch that card, obviously, so I didn't know. Then Jesus Ramos losing to Lubin and Charles Conwell losing to that one dude over a month ago. Didn't watch them either, personally. So you're Scottish. I certainly am, yeah. Certainly am. I was born in Glasgow and my family are all Scottish, yeah. You know, I think Boots would kill Boachuk, and I think Ennis gets a lot of flack for staying at 147 and not stepping up. Norman and Barrios are ducking him. Well, Barrios has got his, I'm assuming, his career high payday against Manny, so he was right to duck him in a sense, because if he lost to Boots, he wouldn't have got that fight, would he? So yeah, the Manny fight made more sense for him. Plus, it'll look better on the resume anyway, beating Manny if he does, you know. But we'll see. The reason I'm frustrated with 154 is I never win bets on that division with Zhu and Fundora. When you looked at the recent history of both guys, Zhu should have won that, yeah. Seems like they set him up to lose that first fight, though. That's what it seemed like to me, you know. Nordic, how do you think Hearn and Boots will approach 154? You see Josh Kelly, Conor Benn, or Keith Thurman next, or possibly Madrimov. Well, Keith Thurman makes perfect sense as an opponent. They can easily build that fight in America. Josh Kelly has had a few like easy wins recently. Like he just had a first round knockout against some Romanian guy. So he's been looking good lately, and that would be a good win on paper if they could get Boots that fight. Madrimov, you know, not a bad win. You know, Madrimov got a lot of hype in the aftermath of the Crawford fight, despite not being that good. So that's definitely a good fight for him. I think the one that makes the most sense, though, is Thurman, because, again, they can easily build that one in America. You know, Conor Benn's not that popular in America, but Thurman is, you know. Conor Benn would be big if the fight happened over here, but in America, Thurman would make more sense, you know. Usyk is the type of guy who's learned from the mistakes of Loma. He hasn't sold out and be a good boy like Golovkin. I can't see him being broken. Hey, listen, I don't put it past any fighter to be broken. All it would take is for, you know, the right situation, the right court case, or the right amount of money or anything to get that to happen, you know. So I'm still not sure Usyk won't take a dive. I'm not sure he won't, you know. I'm scared for Pacquiao. Yeah, it is a concern. He's 46 years old. If he gets like put to sleep again at 46, he might not recover like he did before. But I don't know, man. Is Barrios the one to do it? I'm not even going to attempt to make a prediction for that fight. I'm not even going to attempt it. It's completely pointless, you know. Do you know the Scottish MMA fighter Paul Craig was the last guy to beat the current champion? No, I've never heard of him. But I don't really follow MMA like that, you know. I don't really follow it like that. Lubin turned down the Zoo fight because he didn't want to go to Australia, which is understandable, but credit for facing Murataliev. Is that fight happening next? Lubin versus Murataliev? Oh, Lubin's getting knocked out in that fight. I'm like 90% sure he's getting knocked out if that happens, wherever it takes place. Because I think he's shot now anyway, isn't he, Lubin? I'm terrified for the Usyk Dubois fight, not because of Dubois winning fairly. I know he'll foul and cheat to win. The industry would have finally gotten to Usyk, hoping to be wrong. I'm hoping to be wrong too, but I blame Usyk for giving him that choice or for giving him that chance. Usyk had absolutely no reason to take that fight. Nothing to gain from it. A lot to lose, nothing to gain, you know. Completely pointless. Yeah, you're saying Usyk should have retired. He could have easily retired after the second Fury fight because he had no obligation, you know, to keep fighting. He filled his, what'd you call it, his rematch clause obligation, you know, contractual obligation. That's what makes Crawford so bad too. Yeah, Crawford going life and death with Madrimov is not a good look. Not a good look at all, you know. It's really not. Well, again, my only concern, or my main concern, is can Pacquiao go 12 rounds? Can he? If he can, he wins the fight easily, even now. But can he? Has he got the stamina to do that, to keep that big guy off him for 12 rounds? 50-50. I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know, man. Lubin beat Jesus Ramos, who at the time was ranked even higher. I still think Moratalia will knock him out. I still think that'll happen, you know. I genuinely do. Well, anyway, guys, me and me and the missus are gonna find something to do. I think she wants to go get dinner because she came back there and said she hasn't had any. So yeah, I think I might wrap this one up. I was gonna go a little bit longer, but yeah, I think I'll just wrap this one up and we'll go get something to eat. So and I might even go back to sleep, to be honest, because I am still very tired, as you can tell. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I'll probably have another live next week at some point, probably, and hopefully some videos can get worked on too. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for stopping by. God bless each and every one of you, and stay vigilant. See you later.